Do you think you'll know when you'll see an animal for the last time before its extinction? Well, today, you might actually have an answer for that. Hello and welcome to episode 109 of the Planet Zoo Experience, and today, we speak of the Pere David's deer. While many of you may not see something like a deer as an overly interesting animal, this video may change your opinion. Originally found in eastern China, the Pere David's deer, or the Milu as I will be calling it because it's much easier to say, is quite an odd species compared to others. With wide split hooves, a wide cow-like face, a donkey's tail, and antler structure that creates kind of a bowl or basket shape, this is something that you've never seen before. I almost guarantee it. Now, many of you probably put together that this animal is extremely endangered. As a matter of fact, they are the most endangered animal I have covered yet, and maybe in the game as a whole. With this being the first time I've ever used the EW status on my thumbnail, that meaning extinct in the wild, that's right, this animal is almost impossible to find in nature. But before we get into that story, let's discuss where it's from. Going back to the beginning, antlered deer had evolved in Eurasia roughly 20 to 15 million years ago. Not too much is known about the evolutionary line, but the genus Elphorus is only known by this animal and fragmentary fossils found in other areas of East Asia. We do believe it evolved roughly 2.5 million years ago, and its closest living relative is the Eld's deer of Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. Now, as far as its unfortunate circumstances, the species was well established in the river valleys of China from Liaoning to Hunan, living a semi-aquatic lifestyle, eating river grasses to supplement their diets. Unfortunately, uncontrolled hunting and habitat destruction had led to a sharp population decline, and by the 1860s, the last herd in the wild was seen on the island of Hainan. But they too did not last long. The last major population was a managed herd in the hunting garden of the then Emperor Tongji, just outside of Peking, what is now known as Beijing. Unfortunately, a massive flood had overwhelmed the land in 1895 and had led to much of the herd dying. Their final nail in the coffin would come after the 55 days at Peking during the Boxer Rebellion, where the impoverished and now subdued Chinese civilians were forced to eat pretty much anything they could get their hands on to survive, leading to the end of the Milu. Or, at least, so it seemed. You see, many European visitors of China found the animal very intriguing, especially in England. And, in true English fashion, they stowed some away in zoos all around the world. And for once, the kleptocratic empire did something good with their time. Somehow, many of the European Milu had actually also managed to survive the madness of both world wars, and this is where their journey of redevelopment would begin. Many Western nations had worked together to aid in breeding projects in an attempt to increase their numbers. In 1985, the first herd would be reintroduced into China, 20 individuals, 5 bucks, 15 doe, and again in 1987 of 18 doe. Fittingly, they were actually reintroduced into the old hunting grounds outside of Beijing, where they would rapidly repopulate to 2,000 individuals by the year of 2005. Again, though, tragedy did end up striking. Many Milu were reintroduced into the wild, but there hasn't been many signs of overt success. Out of the 53 known herds in China, only 9 consist of under 25 individuals, while the rest don't even reach 10. Interestingly though, not all hope is lost just yet. In New Zealand, farmers had crossbred them with the red deer, and somehow, it actually fucking worked. Somehow both males and female offspring were able to remain fertile, and this is insane. It is very rare for two animals of different genuses to reproduce, let alone for them to be fertile. For example, the African lion and the Bengal tiger are part of the same genus, and all ligers and tyons are sterile at birth. This may lead to them recovering if they're interbred properly, though, again, no major successes have been done. However, if it does succeed, this may end up fulfilling a wild and fitting cycle of naming. You see, the westernized name, the Pere David's deer, is named after Father Armand David, a Basque French zoologist, botanist, and Lazarist Catholic priest and missionary. Now, how fitting a name for an animal possibly being resurrected by men to be named after a missionary who educated under the Christian sect bearing the name of the man brought back from the dead. And to wrap up this video, let's talk a little bit about a very interesting Chinese legend involving the animal. This is a legend that 3,000 years ago, a tyrant known as Di Xin ruled over China. A horse, a donkey, ox, and deer entered a cave in the forest to meditate on the day that the king decided to execute his minister. When the animals awoke from their meditation, they decided to turn into humans and enter society to learn about the king's heinous acts. And after learning about how much of an absolute bastard he was, they decided to reform into a singular being and gallop into the mountains of Kunlun to meet a primeval lord of heaven. This lord was astonished by the sight of such a bizarre creature with the antlers of a deer, hooves of an ox, face of a horse, and tail of a donkey, stating it's unlike any of these four creatures. After learning what the animals wanted to do, the Lord gave his blessings and dispatched the creature to his disciple, the sage Zhang Xia, who was at the time battling the king. This sage would then ride the animal, the Milu, into battle, defeating the despot and bringing in the Zhou dynasty. And ever since, the animal had settled itself into the lower reaches of the Yangtze River, and the animal became a symbol of good fortune from that point forward. And with that, that is the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. If there's anything you'd like to add, leave it in the comments. If there's anything you'd like to see, leave it in the comments. You know how all this works. And until next time, go outside, touch grass, hug your loved ones, drink water. Bye-bye.